Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and if you haven't already seen the news on Facebook, Board Game Wire, Board Game Geek, or wherever you get your board game news, or alternatively, the thumbnail and title of this video, CMON has sold Zombicide. Like Zombicide, the IP of Zombicide, they've sold that. I assume they've sold the rights to produce all previous Zombicide content, because there's a whole lot of Zombicide content. Although, and this is the big one, because you may not have seen this in the first news-grabbing headlines, this does not include Deceased or Marvel Zombies. Those are not included in the sale, despite being like sort of Zombicide games built on the Zombicide systems. Like, they also have those adjacent to Zombicide games like The Dead Keep, for example, that The Dead Keep never had the Zombicide title even remotely attached to it, and honestly, kind of feels like this might have been the reason why. It kind of feels like they might have been a drift away from the Zombicide actual title, with the mindfulness of who knows what the future holds. Either way, let's go back to let's speculate later. We'll speculate later in the video. Let's start with this. CMON sold Zombicide. It does not include Deceased or Marvel Zombies, and I have to imagine it doesn't include The Dead Keep or anything adjacent that's not officially a Zombicide game. This wasn't originally going to be a full video. I say that a lot sometimes, but usually I mean it. Like, this wasn't going to be a full video. I was like, whatever, I'll throw it into the news and week in review. It's going to be the biggest segment in news and week in review, but it's just a segment because they already sold a bunch of stuff. They already sold Rising Sun and Blood Rage and all that to Tabletop Tycoon. So selling this to Asmodee, by the way, that's the person who bought it, company who bought it is Asmodee. This doesn't feel like massive news deserving its own video, but I had enough people asking for one that it's now its own video. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like a 7-minute video or a 22-minute video. We'll see. I don't think I have enough to talk about to cover 22 minutes, but sometimes I surprise myself, so we shall see. But anyways, Asmodee bought Zombicide from CMON, but again, not Deceased and not Marvel Zombies. What does that mean? What does any of it mean? Does it mean that CMON's in a better place? Does it mean that we don't know? What does it mean? Before we get into that, I did reach out to my contact at CMON for comment, I guess. And I spoke to them. I had a conversation on the phone, got some general information. This is all, press release fluff, and they're very aware of that, by the way. But the general statement of what they can say right now is that this sale positions them for greater success. This sale positions them for, better success to go ahead and continue delivering campaigns before finally resuming putting out new campaigns. Because they're kind of on a hiatus. They're a little bit of a freeze right now. Just deliver, and then they'll eventually start doing new campaigns. And to be very clear, they're very aware of, like, the situation. This isn't like a situation where they're like, nothing's wrong at all in the slightest. Nothing's ever been wrong. They're very aware that the way I'd put it, or the way they put it, is a course correction was needed as far as how the company was running and where it was going and where it was headed. There was a course correction that was needed, and this is that course correction. The sale of multiple IPs, the shifting of the way they're focusing right now in order to focus more on deliveries and catching up, then to get back in and ahead of the game. There's very much a course correction at play, which, again, these things kind of make sense when you're running crowdfunding campaigns to the extent that they were, where a few runs can set you up for a lack of success, depending on how well things go. Too many campaigns that don't hit the right expectations in a row, and suddenly your quarterly numbers are off and everything's thrown into the air. That does make sense overall. But again, to be very clear, this is a general, like, the official CMON statement, so to speak, is this sale positions them for success and future whatevers, future deliveries and righting of the ship, with the mindfulness that very much does sound like a PR fluff statement, and I can't guarantee how things are going. I'm just kind of passing on what I was told. Although this does make sense if you think about it. Like, I mean, if there was that Board Game Wire article a while ago about that there was like an unnamed IP. I think it was like, I can't remember, I think they said an unnamed IP was being shopped around to be sold for like $12 million, if I recall correctly. And that does make sense that this isn't something where CMON like woke up one day and said, hey, oh my gosh, we need to panic. It does sound like they've been in the works to approach this course correction for a while and then combine whatever. Like, everything comes together, whether it's a few too many campaigns together that didn't do as well, whether it's the tariffs, whether it's a combination of all of it. It kind of all went from, I guess, them trying to solve the problem behind the scenes to them trying to solve the problem very much in front of the scenes with all eyes on them. As far as what does this mean? What does this mean? Can you back the next CMON campaign? Well, it depends. I mean, you can do what you want, but what would I do? What would I do as far as the next CMON campaign goes? If the next CMON campaign launched tomorrow, which it isn't, they plan on delivering a whole bunch of things first, but if the next CMON campaign launched tomorrow, I'd say only back that if you're comfortable with the fact that you might not see that money. You might see the money. You might see the game, I should say, but you might not see that money. Whether it's a base pledge, an all-in pledge, if you really like that new game, that they have Cthulhu Death May Die in Space coming out. I don't know. Whatever it is they have coming next, when that campaign shows up and you decide that you want it, but you also don't want to risk your money, if that campaign were launching tomorrow, I would say, yes, it's definitely a risk. Because the reality is, here's the reality. Let's go back to the risk assessment shortly. The reality is, from the stance of being on the outside, from the stance of not seeing their books, from the sense of not knowing how much that sale was for, or multiple sales, the multiple sales are for, from that stance, this doesn't really mean anything. It looks good to me. I think this is good news, but it doesn't mean anything. Mythic Games, before they went under, they also started selling off some of their IPs, and that didn't stop them from going under. So the sale of a bunch of IPs, while it can set a company up for success, it's also clearly not a guarantee that things won't go south. So I'm not going to sit here and say, again, from without seeing the books, without knowing the numbers, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, this means they are well primed for success. What I will say is, it does look good from the outside. I mean, I think their quarterly numbers, whatever, is, keep in mind, Mythic, we never knew the numbers behind the scene, but CMON's numbers, if I recall correctly from the Board Game Wire reporting on it, was that I believe they were reporting a $3 million loss, if not mistaken. And the IP of Zombicide, again, the unnamed, unspecified IPs, that IP sale was supposed to be for $12 million, and this is like from like 9 months ago or something like that, so from a while ago. There's supposed to be an IP sale of roughly $12 million for unspecified IPs. And I don't know if that was all those IPs, like again, they just sold Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Starcadia Quest, all of those things, as well as Zombicide. I don't know if that was supposed to be for just Zombicide, the others, I have no clue what it's for, but there was a unspecified IP sale in the works for $12 million. And I have no idea what they got out of it now. I don't know. I don't know what Asmodee paid. I don't know what Tabletop Tycoon paid. But even if they got like half that, even if they got $6 million altogether, and I have, to be fully transparent, for all I know, they got $500,000. I have no idea. But my armchair analysis from the sidelines over here, if they got $6 million, if they got half of that, that more than covers what they're in the hole for. So it certainly looks good, but also not like a guarantee. This doesn't mean anything other than, the way I'd put it is, we already knew that there needed to be some degree of course correction. With that in mind, this kind of sale, to me, only looks like good news. It only looks like a way for that course correction to happen, properly speaking. Meaning, because otherwise, if you're in the red, one of the reasons we find ourselves in these crowdfunding situations is sometimes if you're a company and you're running in the red, the way to get out of that, if you can't get a loan, if you can't get some sort of investment, if you can't get something going, is run another crowdfunding campaign and hope that one takes off enough that you can recover from being in the red, which is a hope and not usually a good business plan, but just involves more people into the potential losses. So selling off IPs, I take it as good news. It's not a guarantee of safety, but I certainly take it as good news, especially when it's an IP like Zombicide, and especially when it's someone like Asmodee who already was distributing their products, so they already have those connections set up. It's a kind of an easy adoption into their pipeline. It all sounds good from the outside. Going back to that armchair analysis, if CMON were to launch a campaign tomorrow, I would say back it if you really want the thing, but make sure it's money that you're prepared to lose. If they were to launch a campaign in 7 months with a whole bunch more campaigns delivered under their belt, if they have 3 or 4 more, like they just delivered White Death right now, if they had 3 to 4 more campaigns and pre-orders delivered and they launch a campaign 5-6 months from now, I would say it certainly looks better, but I definitely think there'd be a degree of minor discomfort as far as, is this the safety point? Like, what is the safety point? What's the point where I feel confident that I'm definitely seeing everything I backed? And then I'd say if they release the numbers as far as what things sold for, that could definitely, or even just because they're publicly listed, even if they just release their official profit and loss once that's validated and all that, if those numbers check out at any point, whether it's through the sale of the IPs or anything else, that can very much change general perception to be at a point of higher consumer confidence that, hey, I'll back their next campaign. Because I'll say this, I don't know what the situation at CMON is, but it's certainly not a Mythic Game situation. At least, I shouldn't say certainly, I can't make that guarantee. From my perspective, it doesn't feel like a Mythic Game situation. It doesn't feel like money that would be just thrown after bad. It feels like there's a strong possibility that everything is going in the right direction, granted without the certainty, because I just don't know. I'm just telling you from the outside what things look like and how I feel as a backer. and I certainly feel there's what to be nervous about, but it also feels like it's headed in the right direction overall. Ultimately, this is good news. There are no guarantees in life, but given what we knew already, that there were delays in place, that there were problems in place, this feels like good news that can only possibly be helping them and everyone who has backed games through them in the right direction overall. I guess I'll end this video by saying that a week ago, before the news dropped about Zombicide being sold, somebody asked me in one of my live streams, what would it mean the end if CMON was selling off Zombicide? And I said at the time, absolutely not. Because they have Zombicide, which has done tremendously well for them, but they also have Marvel United, which has done tremendously well for them, arguably better in recent years. They have Cthulhu May Die, which is one of the sleeper hits that continuously has just gone up in the charts and continuously done well for them. They have Massive Darkness, which is good. I don't think as good as those other three. And so if they have Zombicide, Marvel United, and Cthulhu May Die, plus other things that are still, out there. I will say, by the way, there was also a tease. If you pay attention to the comments on Deceased, I believe, there was a comment because someone said, "Oh, I guess we won't see Secret Invasion now," and they were like, "Don't be so sure." So that sounds like it's still in the works, which again, similar to the whole Dead Keep situation, feels like Dead Keep and Secret Invasion are both possibly ways to maintain the Zombicide framework while stepping away from the Zombicide name for the potential plans of the sales of IPs. It all feels like it's coming together now. But going back to this, they have multiple strong lines. And I answered on the live stream that if they sold one of those lines, whether it was Zombicide, whether it was Marvel United, whether it was Cthulhu May Die, if they sold one of those, that wouldn't bother me at all because they still have the other two to build the company on, to maintain having those evergreens while experimenting with other products. But if they sold all of them, that would be a flag. That would be a big problem. One of them just makes good sense. And honestly, from where things are, I think that's even better than what I thought from the sidelines. Because they sold Zombicide, I mean they sold one of their IPs, but not only that, they still have Deceased and Marvel Zombies. They still kind of have the Zombicide system while having sold Zombicide. It really feels like they got the best again, I don't know the numbers in the deal, but it feels like they really chose a good IP to sell. They sold off an IP that has been slowly getting worse and worse as far as the performance, while also maintaining the IP that has gotten good numbers after the fact. It feels like they did well on that deal. But if the next news announcement, if the next press announcement up next week is that they've sold off Marvel United or Cthulhu May Die or both, I will admit that's the point where I'll start getting a whole lot more nervous. Because practically speaking, you need to have something strong. You don't need, but it definitely helps to have a good evergreen to build a company around. It helps to have those ongoing sales, and CMON has managed to continuously put out new games every multiple times per year, while also managing to have reliable games that people keep coming back for. I think it really is, from my side of things, it looks better, feels better if they can hold on to a few of those IPs, while also selling off a big popular one to be able to build that cash flow. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are a backer of CMON games in any way, I hope you get all the games you backed, and I'll keep saying that I keep looking forward to God of War. I hope everything can make its way through that one. I thought that was a good game. I really like God of War from CMON. I thought it was a really good game, and I'm still excited for it. And so until next time, I hope you have a good one.